Ayla with True You Systems, and today we're going to be looking at, am I a 4-wing 5 or a 5-wing 4? I've been getting so many amazing comments and ideas from all of you. Thank you so much. And so many people have had questions about 4s and 5s, and so I thought, why not do a video where we can really go in depth about the differences between 4s and 5s. So first off, why is this happening? How come we're getting 4s and 5s confused? How come it's hard to know whether or not it's your dominant type that you're starting with and which one's the wing? It's because there actually are a lot of similarities between 4s and 5s, but there's also a lot of differences. Okay, so let's start by looking at some of the similarities between 4s and 5s. Both tend to be more introverted, they're more withdrawn, and they tend to be overwhelmed by the world. Both can be eccentric, non-conforming, and highly creative. Both 4s and 5s want to understand the world more deeply. And for N types, that's in the Myers-Briggs typing system, both 4s and 5s who are Ns tend to be more intellectually minded. So they're into things like exploring big ideas, existentialist musings, strange concepts, the esoteric. They can both be quirky. Weird. So that's a lot of similarities, but there are things that are really quite different between 4s and 5s. When people are asking me what type they are, one thing that I ask them is what's really motivating you, because that's what the Enneagram's really looking at, and what are things that you tend to fixate on? What are the things that go through your mind often, the thoughts that you hear in your head that are driving you? Sometimes it's hard for us to notice what's motivating us, so I'm going to say what the motivations are for each type, and if it really resonates with you and it feels like, oh wow, yeah, that's the one that I'm really stuck on, that's probably your dominant type. So 4's focus of attention really goes to who am I and can I be truly authentic? They want to be seen as special and different. They often feel like something is missing or that something's flawed about them, and they're longing and searching for something that's going to make it so that they don't have to feel that way. 5s are motivated by wanting to know enough to avoid intrusions and to gain as much knowledge as they can, becoming experts. They tend to focus on questions like, how do I make sure that my time and energy won't be drained? They want to remain emotionally detached and objective. Both types growing up often feel like they didn't belong, that they were somehow an outsider watching the rest of society around them, that somehow they were different from the family structure they were growing up in, but they handled that feeling of being different differently. For 4s, when they felt that they didn't belong, they felt misunderstood and felt shame around that. 4s often describe feeling like an alien, like all of a sudden they were downloaded into this body and they're surrounded by these family members that they don't have anything to do with. Feeling like the black sheep of the family, where everyone's into the same thing and they just aren't. Early on, 4s develop an ability to embrace being different. They find themselves longing for someone or something that will finally understand them. 5s also often felt like they didn't belong, that somehow they didn't belong in their family structure, a certain otherness, but they handled it differently. The difference between them and their family made them feel overwhelmed and felt like there was too much intrusion into their life and that they needed to create some distance from that. They felt like there was going to be too many demands on their time and energy, too many needs from other people. This could be simple things like being invited to play a game, asked to go to a birthday party, or share what they've been up to. 4s and 5s both withdraw in order to have their needs met, but they do it in different ways. 4s withdraw into the landscape of their inner emotions, while 5s withdraw into the landscape of their mind and ideas. When 4s withdraw, it's often to be able to replay a feeling that they have and feel it more strongly. They want intensity. That's what's exciting for them. When a 4 is feeling sad, the best thing to do is to put on sad music to feel sadder. Other people shy away from those emotions, and Fours are just really good at being able to hang in them and really dive deep into them. Fours withdraw into their feelings because they need to fully process them before they can act. In some cases, their feelings may be so overwhelming that they need to pause and not do the thing that they were planning in order to really experience those feelings fully. You know, sometimes getting to work is just not going to happen. Fours may also find themselves withdrawing when they feel hurt or angry, and they need time to, again, process those emotions away from others. Fives withdraw in order to keep emotional distance. They're wanting to remain objective, and they're not wanting to have to engage with their feelings and the messy feelings of other people. That might drain their time and energy, and they're worried that they don't have enough of it. Because of this, fives create a lot of clear boundaries with other people and with other things that they're doing so that they don't have to engage with the world if they don't want to, which they often don't. And while fours are living and breathing intensity, fives are generally trying to avoid it. This doesn't have to be something big and dramatic, although sometimes it is. It can be something as simple as it being important where to sit in a restaurant, if it has the right feel, the right lighting, the right vibe, maybe even bringing up some sort of feelings of nostalgia. And then choosing that spot because it amps up the intensity and the feeling of being there. Something that's less mundane and boring. A five would be less interested in those types of things and weigh it differently. Things like, is it going to take up more of my time if I try to find another spot in the restaurant to sit? Does it really make sense to pay more money for ambiance? So how do these types deal with their own feelings? Fours process their feelings in order to feel them more deeply, whereas fives intellectualize their feelings in order to detach from them. Fours often describe feeling like they're in their head, even when they're going through emotions. And that's because fours process their emotions in their mind. They use their secondary function, their head, to process their main function of their heart. Because of that, they end up often in a loop, going from their head to their heart, to their head to their heart, in order to think about their feelings more and then feel them more, and think about their feelings more and then feel them more again. Fours really want to engage with those feelings and not just push them aside. Fives, on the other hand, use their dominant function of their head to block their secondary function of their heart. So when they're feeling feelings coming up, they use their head function to intellectualize and think about how they're feeling in order to not have to feel it. So fives can have deep feelings too. It's just often it's delayed from the moment that the thing is happening, and it's being filtered through the mind. So they'll say things like how they thought about it versus how they felt about it. Fours have more of an ability to feel things in the moment and to be more affected by things in the moment. Some fours describe feeling like they're in a sea of emotions, and that those emotions and moods can shift quickly depending on what's washing over them. Fours are more comfortable showing those emotions and being real and authentic with them. You'll often hear language with fours like, I just love that, or I hate it. Fives find it easier to remain neutral on things, even in situations where others are expressing more intense emotions. Fours really want connection. They're passionate, they are sensitive, and they're empathetic. They're empathetic to other people's sad feelings, and they experience feelings very strongly. Fives want to be left alone. They want less emotional involvement, and they're more cerebral. They want to be self-sufficient and not have to engage with others in order to have their needs met. Fours tend to experience more feelings of frustration and disappointment. They see beauty in things that other people don't, and they see a world that could exist and want it to be able to be that way, and often are disappointed when it's not. Fives tend to experience more feelings of fear or dread around losing all of their energy or not being capable and competent in the world. So fours, they belong in the feeling triad, and fives, they belong in the thinking head triad. And there's a gap between the two. And some people say that that gap is so broad, it's like a chasm. Sometimes it's called the abyss or the existential hole. So both 4s and 5s often describe a sense of standing at the edge of that abyss and wondering and wanting to explore existence. 4s want to experience the darkness. They want to engage with it and really feel those feelings and express them, often creatively. Because of this, they can be drawn to melancholy, to thinking about experiencing loss and sadness, and embracing those feelings. Things like disappointment and unattainable love. It's all very personal for 4s, with an aim of understanding their identity more deeply and what is their place in the universe. 5s want to analyze the darkness. They tend to want logical answers that explain why we're here. Things like, does anything matter? How do we measure if it matters? How can we know what we know? What have others said about the emptiness of life? In this way, 5s can be more nihilistic in their stance than melancholy like 4s. For 5s, this whole exploration is less personal and more observational. 4s see themselves as their feelings, while 5s see themselves as their thoughts. So there are really some big similarities between 4s and 5s, and there's also really big differences. So when you're thinking about, am I a 4-wing 5 or a 5-wing 4, you want to think about which one of those examples did you really resonate with. And that one that really resonated with you is probably the main type that you tend to lead with, your dominant type. And then you have the wing, the one that you're drawing on and adding to, but you're not as fixated on. Both 4s and 5s have interesting perspectives and angles on the world. And so thank you 4s and 5s for sharing that with us and for helping us to all go deeper and to understand things more. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, please press the like button. It helps me to know what other content you'd like to see more of. By the way, I also made these helpful Enneagram self-typing cards. They're really fun to show to friends and family and other people who you might think are interested in the Enneagram, but you don't know how to explain it to them. And it's also really helpful for you for being able to look into these types of questions more deeply. So 4s and 5s, I can't wait to hear from you. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did you resonate with? What are other examples of how you can determine if you're a 4 or a 5 or any other questions that you have? The comments have been so incredible. It's so exciting to get to talk with all of you. I can't wait to hear from you and talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.